Alright, welcome back to DecryptedTech. As we continue our coverage of Gigabyte's Z77X-UD3H, we're taking a look at their 3D BIOS. We are in the advanced mode here, so we're just going to take a look at some of what we've got going on in the advanced mode, and then we'll slip back out to the normal mode. Right now what you're seeing is the intro screen. You come in on the Motherboard Intelligent Tweaker, and of course you can just go into any of the statuses. In this version of the BIOS we do have a working mouse. So here is our status. It's a really nice page. We actually like this one because it gives you just an example of everything that you've got going on. It'll show you the independent CPU cores. You can see our turbo ratio is set to 47. That gives us our 4.7 gigahertz overclock, which is what we were aiming for with this one. We tried the 4.8 as we mentioned in our review. Again, you click on the link below and it'll take you straight into the written review. At 4.8 we could not get it stable. We tried different voltages, a few different tweaks, and it just kept failing on some of our more advanced tests, such as light wave. It would blue screen, reboot, just different things. At 4.7 it was very stable. We had no problems with any of the tests we ran through it. We also saw much better temperatures, and we were able to drop the voltage down to 1.35, which still maintained great stability and also reduced some of the temperatures we were seeing at the higher CPU speeds. Alright, so we'll go ahead and back out. And as you can see, we can go into our advanced frequency settings. This is going to let us adjust pretty much everything we want. You see our CPU clock ratio. We're not using the XMP. We've got a hard set to 1600 megahertz in keeping with the Kingston RAM that we have in here. Here's some of your advanced features. Most of these are going to be turned on. We did leave the turbo boost technology set to auto instead of manually adjusting the individual cores. What we found is this gives us the best stability. Even though it shows the first active core at 39, it's actually going to try and kick it up. We saw some single core performance at 4.9 gigahertz. Again, not out of the realm of possibility, but it was just interesting to see it spike up there and then kick back down immediately. We still saw your average performance was going to be around the 4.7 gigahertz mark. Of course, we have all 4 cores are enabled. You can set this manually here. One of the things we did notice is that there are no more drop-down menus in here. You actually have to go ahead and enter the number, which is nice, but we would kind of like in some cases to see independent menus where a drop-down would be beneficial versus just seeing the option for auto and manual entry. Again, but that's kind of nitpicking at that point. All right, you have your advanced memory settings. You can be some of the same things that we've shown you before. All right. One of the things we do want to point out here is that even though Gigabyte has adjusted and improved the lag that we saw with their 3D BIOS, we are still seeing some of that as we move through the BIOS. There are just times when it doesn't pick up the mouse click. They are working on it. We've seen definite improvement in it, but they can still work on it a little bit more. Alright, so here you can see we've got everything, we got our different voltages set up, and these are all just your options. You have your timing settings. We have all of those set to auto. We wanted to see what the board would pick for us based on the SPD that's in the memory. And we still saw some pretty good timings there. Alright, you have your power controls. Another thing that Gigabyte has tried to do with their BIOS is they've tried to limit the pages to one page. There's not a whole lot of scrolling back and forth through here, which is nice in that everything you need is sort of at a glance. I mean, even if we scroll down here, there's nothing actually at the bottom. It's just because it doesn't all fit comfortably on the page that you even see the scroll bar here. So this gives you an option to really get in there and see what you want at a glance without needing to bounce around and scroll back and forth, which is one of the things that a lot of overclockers and a lot of enthusiasts have complained about. It's just that they want to see everything sort of at a glance and get that immediate instant gratification with going to these controls and taking care of everything. Alright, so of course under MIT you still have PC health status. It's going to show your voltages, your temperatures, everything that's going on. Of course, since we're overclocking, we have pretty much everything disabled. This is one of the screens where you do have a lot below the scroll bar. As you can see, we have our fan control modes, all of that. We have this set to auto. You can do voltage, PWM, and of course you have your controls down here below that too. Right under miscellaneous settings, here we go. You have your PCIe generation. We've got this set to auto, but you can choose whichever one you want, Gen 1, 2, 3. I'm not sure why you're going to choose Gen 1, but the option is still there. Right now, the way it's set up, if we drop something in there, it's going to determine what generation it is and actually set it to the proper setting. If you do need to hard code it, you can, which is a nice option. Here's some of our system information. Again, just your basic stuff. Nothing really major here. BIOS features, this is like your advanced features that you used to get in the BIOS. Can be your boot option, different things such as your PCI ROM, whatever you're going to do, you know, legacy EFI compatible. So it's basically looking at what, if you have something in there that's bootable. CSM support, the network stack, all of these options are here. You can turn the number lock state, all of that on and off through here. So if you want to change your boot option priorities when you actually boot it up, and you have the F12 option to choose what you want to boot into, you can change that order here. Moving on to the peripherals, you'll see we can set up to boot from the LAN card. So if you have something like a network drive that it's going to boot from, you can set that up and sort of make this into a dumb terminal, which is nice if you're working in a business environment. For most home users, it's actually not necessary at all. SATA controllers, your XHCI, this has to do with your USB and how it actually operates. We have this set to Smart Auto, which is generally what we would recommend, as it's their extensible host controller interface, and it's going to allow you to change the way it operates. So again, you have USB 2.0, audio, all of the stuff that you're used to, and of course your internal memory size. Right now this is set to 64. We were tinkering around with it during some of our overclocking. And of course the maximum, which a lot of people have asked about, is going to be 1 gigabyte of memory. It'll pull that from your system memory, so it'll reserve it for video and use up to this. You also can set up your maximum memory size, which the maximum is going to be, you can hard set this. And if you set it to maximum, it's going to set itself up to use the maximum amount that you can, which is up to 1 gigabyte. Alright, your rapid start technology, we have that turned off right now. Again, that was in order to play around with some overclocking options to see if we can get a little bit more out of it. And then of course here you have your different USB support. And of course your GSATA controller, all of that. We accidentally double clicked on the wrong thing. So you have, these are your different options, your onboard controllers, your onboard LAN controllers, enabled, on, off, PCIe slot configuration. We take a look at that, you can see it's X1 or X4. So then we have your Intel Smart Connect. Right now that's actually turned off. You know, there's no need for that during our testing. And then of course you have your GSATA controller and what mode you want to set it in. That's on the Marvel. We talked about that when we discussed the design and features, which you can get to. Again, if you click on the link below, there's a link to our original review of the design and features for that. So under power management, you can see these are your basic settings, your high precision event timer, which we definitely turn off when we're overclocking, and just pretty much the normal settings that you have, the standby mode, the deep standby mode. We tend to turn all of your power management off even when we're running a board under normal performance. There's just no reason for a desktop system to want to go in and out of sleep states. It's fine to turn the monitor off, but the days of needing to power off your hard drive and power everything off, when these systems go into their idle states, they're drawing such a minimal amount of power that there's no real benefit to putting it into a sleep state. Some people still do it. We've found that there are still issues when it's coming out of sleep, when it tries to open up that hyperfile.sys. If there's problems writing everything to that file, pulling it back up, you end up losing information. Alright, so again, like we said, we're going to go back to our 3D mode. This is the new 3D mode. They've pulled out some of the colors just to make it a little bit faster. And you can see as you highlight each individual option here, you can click on it and you can pull up that information very quickly in little minimal windows here. You can see these are your I/O ports, audio device, USB, all of that's going to be right here. Same thing with memory. You can set your frequencies. This is going to be, all of your overclocking options are right here in a small window. It's easy to get to. And of course, the one thing we will say, and again we ran into this before, is that your side window here is obscured by your main window. We would like to see Gigabyte give an option to pull all of this up where we can see this information, including temperatures, all of that, without being obscured by these internal windows here. We open up fan control, it's still not going to give us everything that we want to see. And of course you can enter your advanced mode very quickly. So we can see that Gigabyte definitely has improved their 3D BIOS. We can get a lot more out of it. It's much smoother. We're not running into the same issues with mouse stuttering and lag that we saw before. There's still some room for improvement. We would definitely like to see this window over here come to the forefront, or even have an option to put it on the side and leave it on the side so you can see that at a glance. That's sort of what the idea of the UEFI BIOS is to give you this information in a graphical presentation so it's easy to read, easy to maneuver, and easy to get around. Here, no matter what we do, as soon as we open this up, we've got our display obscured by this major window. So yes, we can read it if we look carefully enough, but a lot of these are actually hidden by sliders, all of that. And yes, we can move this out of the way, but why have it pop up overlapping it in the first place? You know, we kind of want to see this sort of build into a much more easy to use format, and that's definitely what Gigabyte appears to be doing, but there's just still some work to be done on this. Another thing that we'd like to see, which is something that we've seen from Intel, one of our favorite features of Intel's Visual BIOS, is the option to search for functions and features that you want. Type it into the search window. As we showed you in our review of that board, it immediately pops up with a link. You can click on it and you're right there. It's nice to have advanced options and to have these quick clicks, but if somebody is in here and doesn't actually know what they're looking for, and doesn't know what it would be filed under, they're still hunting for these things. If you give them this option to search, click on it quickly, they're going to be right where they want to be. So again, that finishes up our coverage of Gigabyte's 3D BIOS, their new 3D BIOS. It's a dual UEFI, so there are two of these in here. You can bounce back and forth, create different profiles for it. As always, if you like this video, please click on the like button. Be sure to share it with your friends, and make sure you subscribe to our channel so you can stay up to date with the news and reviews we have for you, and the occasional contest that we have planned for our YouTube subscribers.